Welcome to The Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world. Small.
In this week's episode of The Kindness Project, we share the best of The Kindness Project over the years, part 2.
Welcome, listeners, to The Kindness Project. I'm one of your hosts, Chris Dames. Joining me today is Charlotte Dames. How are you, Charlotte?
I forgot to use the funny intro. That's the funniest part.
I'm trying to do a professional introduction to The Kindness Project.
Since when has this ever been professional?
Since this week. I'm bored of our shambolic nonsense and
Shame I'm not.
oh God! Right, there's somebody listening to the podcast who's going, "Oh look, they're speaking really quietly this week. I'm going to turn it down a bit or turn it up a bit," and then suddenly you just go, "Shame I'm not." Welcome, listeners. I did try. Okay, I did try to make it a little more professional, but obviously Charlotte doesn't want to do that. So,
Why?
yeah, true. So, I
Constructive with your criticism.
I'm oh, like the Concord reference, high five. I'm joined by a girl whose favourite word is shame. It's Charlotte Dames.
And I am joined by the father of the dad jokes. It's Chris Dames.
Oh, God, I love that. The best that joke is obviously the pun, isn't it? The pun is the best dad joke ever. What's your favourite pun?
Cheese puns. There's just unlimited cheese puns. In the
Cheese
world.
buns, very specific. Cheese buns. I like cheese puns, but I used to not like them. I didn't give any damn.
They used to make me feel a lot better than they do now.
Oh God! Oh, I think cheese puns are brilliant. No, are we having that? No, we're not. Okay, that's fine. Why do you like the word shame? Where did that come from?
Funny, because we've having this conversation about inappropriate responses to someone telling you they loved you, and the first thing that came into my mind was shame.
And what other inappropriate responses did you have to somebody telling you that they love you?
Who wouldn't?
Who wouldn't, right? Okay. So does your mum?
So that was your one. Because we kept playing this game while we were on holiday, and actually it annoyed Mum a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, I'm gonna get Dad to do one. I'm like, oh, I love you, and he just goes.
So does your mum. But that's true. That is true. You love me, and Mum loves me, so that's all good. And I love you both too. We were talking about this the other day. I think one of the kindest things you could ever do is just spend the time every day making a conscious effort to tell the people who are closest to you, shame. I mean, no.
How much you care about
how much you're embarrassed of them. No, how much you love them. Just those three simple words, I love you, I think just... and I know... It's really weird because I know that like you roll your eyes sometimes and you turn around and go, and Sophie goes, "Dad, I know, you keep on telling me," and there's a reason I keep on telling you. I don't want you to ever forget that I love you. So I might change your habit to once a day, to once every 15 minutes. I might just kick the door down in your classroom and go, "Charlotte, love you."
Send me a text. Like, what's up? Send me a text. I will feel the vibration and know what you were saying.
You don't take your phone into school, do you?
Yeah.
What, into classes?
Yeah, it just stays in my pocket on silent.
Are you allowed to do that?
Yeah.
Since when?
As long as you don't take it out of your pocket and use it in class, you're allowed to have it.
Are you really? I thought you had to sort of put in some sort of black hole when you went into school and...
And then you just kind of pull it out. Just like, I have this magical black hole thing I can just put my bag in and don't have to carry it. I can just kind of reach it.
You're being very expressive this week for a podcast. It's like looking at a musical.
A musical?
Yeah. The Kindness Project, the musical.
That'd be a lot.
So, would we like to do the jingle for?
Question of the podcast. Woo!
So, this question of the podcast is, what's your favourite animal-related story? Now, considering my experience with swans recently, I thought that might be an interesting one. So what we'd like to hear, listeners, is experiences where you've got into an altercation with an animal, if you've sort of annoyed an animal, if you've had an animal save you and do something really good. Any kindness-related animal story is good, but also any funny-related animal story would be really useful. So hit us with your animal-related stories.
Hit us with your best shot.
Hit us with your best shot of goose. I don't know, whatever. Extra points for unusual animals. If anybody comes out with a koala-related animal story, they get bonus points.
I chased a peacock around the zoo the other day.
The other day? You make it sound like you do it all the time. You know what happened the other day? Chased a peacock around the zoo. How did that happen?
I think they were just wandering around the zoo when we were in Italy, and it and its babies were kind of walking around, and I just kind of walked around behind them, started taking pictures of them.
So you didn't really chase it around, you joined its family. Oh, by the way, I'm now a peacock. Charlotte, we're going now. I am now a part of the peacock family. I will not be coming home to England. I'm going to stay in Italy and be a peacock.
They will lock me in a cage eventually, but I don't care. I get to be with my new family.
So what? On that note, and this isn't a question of the podcast, but if you'd like to answer it, listeners, you can. If you could join a family of animals and live with them for a little while, what animal would you pick?
Beavers.
Beavers? Why beavers?
They live in a stream. I could just swim about and pack that down with those twigs.
Yeah, but they work hard.
No, my teeth are going to kill.
I'd pick monkeys. You've got to go for monkeys. I'd be like the Diane Fossey of London Zoo.
What?
Have you never seen Gorillas in the Mist?
No.
Oh, Charlotte, you've got to give it a watch.
Is it like Rise of the Planet of the Apes?
No, it's not like Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It's a story. Is it like Rise of the Planet of the Apes? It's a story of a lady who did called Diane Fossey, who did loads of conservation work with gorillas in the mist. And there were poachers. Watch a movie. It's an awesome film. Welcome to the Kindness Project. I'm joined by a girl with the most selfish dog in the world. I mean, can't you see we're trying to do some work?
And I'm joined by a man who looks great in fake makeup.
What? Where's that from?
I don't know, I was trying to make a reference to the whole photo booth thing, and I just...
Oh, yeah. So, if you, in case you don't know, Charlotte and I have just come back from Japan.
We took a jolly jaunt.
Is that what you'd call it? A jolly jaunt? It was jolly. I had an amazing time in Japan.
So did I.
Apart from the last 2 days where we were virtually travelling all the time, and the only line that you seemed to remember was, "I just want to be at home now. I just want to be at home," and I get it.
I just want to
go now. Yeah, I know. We're at Copenhagen Airport. I just want to go. We're at Heathrow Airport. I just want to go now. We're at home already, Charlotte. I know, but it just feels too long. And then the journey back did seem like a long time, didn't it?
11 and a half hours, and then another hour and a half.
Yeah. It was long. But the trip was amazing. Mm-hmm. What was your favourite bit?
Ooh, the tech and the flowers.
The tech and the flowers?
Yeah.
What do you mean the flowers?
You know, we went to all those like shrines and temples and places.
You know, we were in all... Oh, yeah, don't worry about the shrines. Don't worry about the ancient history stretching back.
Flower gardens.
You know what? They were amazing. I enjoyed the bamboo forest. That was really, really good. You not keen on the bamboo forest?
I got like 2 pictures in that bamboo forest. Everywhere else I got like 20.
Okay. And are we judging the validity of our gooder places by the amount of pictures you take?
Yeah, because it's about how many pictures it's worthy of taking.
Oh, fair enough. Okay, good. Well, so we've been to Japan. We came back, and your dog is still an annoying dog. I mean, it's part of the family. We love him, but as soon as we start to record the podcast, he seems to want to have a little bark.
Have a yap at the window.
A little yap at the window.
Have a yap at the door.
Yeah.
Where's he going to yap at next? Our faces.
I feel a bit out of practice, do you? It feels like we haven't recorded a podcast for weeks, and the reason being is because we haven't. So this might be more shambolically nonsensical than usual.
We're out of practice because this one is going up. When is it? A couple of days from now?
Yeah, we front loaded all recording all the other podcasts, so we.
We've just been putting this one off.
We need to get back at it and get in front of ourselves again, really, don't we? But
Yeah.
it's all good. But we've still got loads of amazing interviews to come up. Some interviews from people who have got Netflix shows on kindness, people who help a person a month, every single month, doing something good, and just some amazing dudes and dudesses. Is that a word?
Dudettes.
Dudettes, who do good stuff in the world that we want to share their stories. So we're going to be doing a lot more of that. However,
We can't miss the most important part, other than the introductions of the introduction.
other than the introductions of the introduction, what's the most important part?
Question of the podcast. Woo!
And the question of the podcast this week is...
You didn't have the woo.
Woo! The question of the podcast this week is, what's your most favourite man-made structure in the world? So, is it the pyramids? Is it the Tower of London? Is it the Burj Khalifa? Is it the Shard? Is it your mum's house? Is it somewhere that is really, really close to you? What is your...
Yeah, that's pretty decent.
Yeah, but it's not as good as the Shard, is it?
No. It's like my favourite place in the world. Like,
Is it?
yeah.
So your favourite man-made structure in the world would be your house?
My favourite place in the world. Why would I go anywhere else?
Yeah, I know, but you don't turn up at your house and go, wow, that's amazing, do you?
Yeah, I go, wow, amazing, that's home. I can take a break now.
Fair enough. Apart from your house, and more specifically your bedroom, where's your...
Yes, my bed is the most amazing man. I
where,
sleep in it. I live out of it.
where is your favourite man-made structure? What is your favourite man-made structure and why?
I don't know. I like over at the Elizabeth Park, the tall red thingy.
The Orbit.
Yeah, you go noom down.
You go noom down.
Yeah, you zoom down it.
Do you noom down it or do you zoom down it?
You zoom down it.
What's a noom? I noom down it. I liked that. Yeah, and I like the fact that they've installed a slide. I think they should install a slide on more big buildings. Like a slide down the Shard would be amazing. Well, I can't think. I mean, I've been to. I mean, look, Japan had loads of really good ancient architecture, didn't it?
Tokyo Sky Tree. That's not ancient. But I'm just naming some structures now.
Yeah.
The Sky Tree was decent. That transmission place with the giant. There was just a giant circle in the middle of the at the top of the building, right there, just like.
Yeah, but the London has got some amazing buildings as well. One of my favourites is the Gherkin, and I think they should name more buildings after foodstuffs. I'd like to see.
They do it in London though. They just name their buildings after random objects, like the Shards,
Well,
the Gherkin, the cheese grater.
I'd like to see the Orbit in the Olympic Park renamed.
The Slippy Slide.
The Slippy Slide's not a bad move, actually, but I think they should rename it in tribute to the old chocolate bar, the Curly Whirly. Just call it the Curly Whirly. And I think we should go about...
I still love a good curly whirly.
Do they still do Curly Whirlies?
Curly whirlies.
Yeah, I've gone off Curly Whirlies a bit, but I like the words together. Curly
Whirlies.
and Whirly. So that's amazing. So what we'd like to know, dear listeners, is what's your favourite man-made structure or construction in the world? What is
That
it?
always surprises me.
What?
Freddo's used to be 10p. I don't know why.
I don't think you were born when Freddo's were 10p, were you? What's what's the least you've ever paid for a Freddo?
20p.
20p. That's inflation, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is inflation. We might have some comments on the podcast on this, but I asked you a question the other day.
Like 30p now.
30p?
Yeah.
Oh, right, not buying Freddos anymore. What
Buy them in bulk.
what thing has increased in price the most? And I said to you, I think it might be computer games, because when I was probably a bit younger than you, I used to go in to a shop and buy a game for 99p, and now it's like 60 quid to buy a game. And I can't think of anything that's gone up that
Like
much.
40,000 or something, isn't it?
Yeah, so it was about 6,000%, wasn't it? We worked out.
Freddos have gone up by about 200%.
I know, but that's not 6,000%, is it, darling? So is there, listeners, help us with this one, is there a product or a service, apart from my clients might say my fees, that's gone up quite a lot of money? Don't know. What do you think?
Probably.
You didn't do your research, did you? No.
I was very tired when I was even though it was like 12.
I offered a cash incentive as well for you to do that, but you...
I mean, I googled it and nothing came up.
Oh,
That was it.
the life of a 15-year-old. What research did you do? I googled it, nothing came up, I left it. End of. As we've got you on, normally we get the chance to read out your the silver linings you mention every day for us on the podcast. But as you're here, instead of us doing it, why not get the man himself to do it? So, Dave, what are your silver linings of the day?
Oh, excellent. Well, silver linings for Tuesday the 5th of May are over 50 cast members from the Queen musical We Will Rock You have got together online and filmed a video version of Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, amazing.
Nice.
Which is absolutely spectacular, and they've got Brian May involved to play the guitar on it as well. So just look it up on YouTube. On My Silver Linings, there's a link through whatsonstage.com, but it's absolutely brilliant. It's a proper mega production from people recording at home.
And the theatre has really stepped up their game. I mean, I know that on John Krasinski's Some Good News show, they had the cast of Hamilton, didn't
Yeah.
they? That was really,
And
really
then the
good.
cast of Hamilton did the spin.
I want to be in the Zoom where it happens.
yeah.
That was good. That was good. But yeah, have you watched a couple of live shows as well? Did you watch Jamie or something
We
else?
tried to watch Jamie, but they took it down. We watched Rent's live online now.
Yeah.
Well, not live, obviously, but it's online now, so you
Yeah.
can watch it, and it's really good. Me and Mum almost cried. We just sat and watched it.
Yeah, it's quite a sad story,
yeah,
then,
yeah.
isn't it? Yeah, so that's good. What else has been going on in the world of silver linings, Dave?
Well, the second silver lining today is, and I picked this one specifically because I knew you guys had been talking about art this morning.
Okay.
So the Tate Modern, obviously closed to the public at the moment, but they've got an Andy Warhol and an Aubrey Beardsley exhibitions running at the moment. So they've just last month put up on their YouTube channel a virtual tour of both those exhibitions.
I love it.
It only takes about 7 minutes, but if you're into your modern art, and I have to say Warhol's stuff is great. Could be inspirational for you, Chris.
Yeah.
But yeah, have a look on YouTube, have a look for the Tate Modern channel, and take a little tour.
Yeah, and the Tate, funny enough, the Tate do some amazing stuff on their YouTube channel. So if you do like art, or you're a rank amateur like me, but you like looking at art, give it a go, because it's certainly worth doing. So, what did you think of the first stage of the interview?
It was good. I can't wait for the second bit.
Sounds good. Should we do the end of the show? Mark, first of all, thank you for joining us on the Kindness Project. I really appreciate your time. How are you doing today?
Yeah, really good, really good. It was a few months ago that I first listened to one of your Kindness Project webcasts, and I scratched my head and tried to work out what it was all about. And now I find a few months later, here I am sitting
You're on.
on it. So
You're
I'm fastening my seatbelt and getting ready to go.
Well, you know what was funny? So I did. I don't know if you heard, but I did the marathon on Sunday for St Francis
right.
Hospice.
Yeah.
And I went to one of their pasta nights on the Friday before the Sunday, where you get prepared and sort of get ready to go. And Andy, who we've friend of the podcast who we've had on from St Francis, was mentioning the podcast to the guys in the room, and one of the ladies messaged me this week to say your podcast got me through the last 10 miles, because I was just laughing at how ridiculous you and Charlotte are, but also she was listening to Andy's episode, so it was because she had somebody in the hospice, it was quite pertinent for her to listen to those particular episodes. So it was like one of those where you go, yes, it is a bit strange, and it is quite entertaining for us to do. But if we can do a bit of good, if we can get somebody through a little bit of a marathon and share the stories of people doing great stuff in the world, that's what we want to do.
Yeah, but Chris, talking about people doing great things in the world, are you running the marathon next year?
So I've got an email today, and the ballot.
Well, we've got a place with your name on it.
Oh, mate. Well, look, I might have to consider it. I mean, I'm going to put in for the ballot today.
Great. Yeah.
And I'll see how I get on. But the challenge isn't actually the day, because the day is amazing. The day is running around. I did Paris in 2017, and the difference between the way that Londoners treat the marathon, Parisians treat the marathon is chalk and cheese, because Parisians are very sophisticated and clap from a cafe about 100 metres away from the run. Londoners are really active and engaged and involved, and love that. The challenge you've got with the marathon is the training, because the training takes up so much of your time during the run up. It is interesting, but thank you for the offer. I'll see how the ballot gets along, and I might take you up on that.
Okay, no
so we're not here to talk about me. I want to hear about you. So tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, so personally, I'm of mature years, so you're a youngster by compared to me.
What do you consider mature?
Well, mature, it means overripe, don't you?
Well,
I'm 66.
So I'm 44, and I don't know whether mature applies to me yet or not, to be honest.
Yeah, well, it's all about growing old disgracefully, isn't it? And so I've got quite a large family. We've got a family of 7 children. It's a blended family, which is always interesting, and have 6 grandchildren now, so kept busy with that. And for the past 6 years, I've worked at First Step. It was my second charity job. I had worked in business and general management and sales roles for most of my career. And as I sort of was reaching the final furlough, shall we say.
Yeah, the next step was into the
next step,
sector.
Well, I went to First Step, but that's... so I was... I first went to a school as a business manager because I thought that would be a bit like a not-for-profit.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting time. And then I had to step down to a middle management role in a charity in order to step back up as a CEO role. And I've been at First Step now for 6 years.
Amazing.
My wife says that I've got a nerve to call it a job because most people would pay to do what I do.
Well, I mean,
not far from wrong.
I mean that phrase, working forever, like doing something you love. A job is a job only if it feels like work. And if you're doing something that doesn't feel like work, you can sort of carry on probably a bit longer than you would if you hated it. Tell me a bit about the blended family. How old are the kids? What's the range of the kids?
Well, our kids range from you said thinking carefully, 27 up to 39.
Okay.
So they're all offhand, and my wife Sharon, we haven't got any of the children together. We sort of collected them along the way,
Yeah.
and it's great. We're a bit like the League of Nations in terms of covering all religions, races, and. Well, I'm not sure about orientations yet, but it's a truly blended family, and they get on well, and it certainly keeps us on our toes.
So Christmas in your house is going to be busy, right?
Yeah, well, we made a decision a couple of years ago that you may say this is a bit pessimistic, Chris, but I said to Sharon when we just turned 60 then it was, and I said, look, if we're lucky, we've got 15 years of being able to do pretty well much of what we want to do, and then it's lack of the gods. And so for the last 6 years, we've been trotting across the country over the Christmas weekend to spend time with everybody.
Oh, amazing.
So that's really good. So it's Christmas Eve with one family, Christmas morning with another, back for Christmas lunch with somebody with another section of the family, and then Boxing Day with another. So
that sounds really good. Yeah. Geographically, how spread out are they?
It keeps altering because whether they're at university or where they're working, but we've got a couple that live close to us, and then we've got one daughter that lives up in Northamptonshire, Corby, and then another one that lives in Thaxted, another daughter that lives round near.
So a lot of time in the car over the Christmas period, right?
Yeah. But I think while you can do it, you want to do it.
Yeah, great. I mean, one of the big things for us, particularly during the sort of pandemic and particularly last year, Gaz's mum and dad, I mean, I lost my mum a couple of years ago, and my dad's relatively local, but Gaz's mum and dad live in Arbroath on the outskirts of Scotland.
Wow. Okay.
And you realise how important family is when you can't get to see them for 15, 16 months, don't you? So we've had a trip up, they've had a trip down this year, and we're, as you say, I think you get conscious that you need to make a particular effort as people get older. And we've talked about that quite a lot. And tell me, we'll certainly talk about Footstep. Tell me how your experiences in business help you now. You know, you've had a varied career. You're in a position where you're now in the third sector, charity sector. How do you reckon your work in corporate and commercial organisations has helped you?
Yeah, really interesting question. I think that I've always worked in small and medium-sized companies. And I think working in a small and medium-sized company is excellent preparation for working in the third sector and charity, because you have to be able to do everything. Right. And so I think that would be point number one. And I think that when you're working in and as I say, I've not been at many, I mean, I've had a couple of stints running my own organisation, but while I've been an employee, I've been general manager. So I've not had the power of being able to direct staff completely. And I think what it helped me to do was to really focus and understand that people's motivation comes from inside.
Yeah.
And if I can, as a good manager, if I can actually understand the seat of what their drive and motivation is, and I can craft a job that works around that, then you've got a really successful arrangement, and people start to enjoy what they're doing.
It's really interesting. I think you're right. You know, that intrinsic and extrinsic motivation is something we talk, in my day job as a financial planner, we talk to our clients a lot about, because, and weirdly, extrinsic motivation is, what people assume that money can buy, stuff. But actually, people don't get up in the morning for that. They get up in the morning for purpose and relevance and all of the stuff that drives them intrinsically. The weird thing is, even though I'm the sort of director of a business, Mark, as I said to you before the call, I think Russ is my boss most days, because he just points me in the direction of what I need to do, along with a few other members of my management team, I'll call them, because they tell me where to pop up. That's right, Russ, isn't it? Are you going to pop up on an interview or not? He's going to stay quiet, Mark.
That's correct.
Yeah, okay. is very true, isn't it? Because, and I think the other thing that the small business does for you, it makes you incredibly flexible because you have to roll with the blows and you have to grab opportunities where they're there, and you have to solve the crises yourself because there's no other person to actually do that.
But you know what? I mean, it was really interesting. I was speaking to somebody yesterday about politics, and it's somebody involved in politics. And they said to me, they were a little bit frustrated, and they said the challenge you've got with politics is trying to get stuff done is trying to wade through treacle, because actually every time you want to get stuff done, you're in a position where you find yourself things being lost in the mix because you've got to ask 12 committees to get stuff done, and then it just takes it, and then you've got 100 different motivations, even though your thing might be positive, and then that starts to make you a little bit more cynical. I get that sort of in our little spheres of influence we might have less control, and I can't make political change, but I do get up every day being able to make decisions and get stuff done. And that, to me, feels more suited to my personality than potentially, sort of getting really frustrated at not wanting to do something positive and not being able to get it done. So I suppose it depends on your personality a bit, because I know that some people, business ownership is their idea of hell. All the responsibility, all the autonomy, all the choice. But for me, I think 11 years into running a business now, I've passed the point of unemployable.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, I've got to take issue with on something you said, and I know I'm not supposed to do that as a person being interviewed.
No, please do.
But you said we can't change the world. We can. You're actually doing it right now. We change the world one person at a time, and the Kindness Project is actually focusing on encouraging people to think a little bit outside of their immediate bubble. And I think you're right. We can't achieve wholesale change, but I think the great thing in our little spheres of influence is we can make a huge difference to the people that we engage with.
That's an absolutely fair comment. And when I said that you can't change the world, you can't change countrywide policy, but you can. I'm a fan of Stoic philosophy, and one of the things about Stoicism is they say just focus on what you can control. Focus on what you can control and influence, and don't worry about the rest. And then you're in a position where, and as you say, the idea of this podcast is how can we showcase the fact that there are amazing stories of incredible people all over the country doing brilliant stuff that we just don't get to hear about, see about. So tell us about the amazing stuff you do at First Step.
Okay, well, First Step is a charity that works with families of children with special needs and disabilities 0 to 5, and we've been doing that for just coming up to 33 years now. I've got to get used to that. In October, it's 33 years, and we work with families right at the start of their journey. So when people typically come into us, they're often quite in crisis. Nobody starts off the steps towards having a family believing or thinking that they might hit a child with special needs or disabilities, and either as the child is born or in run up to it, they actually become aware that perhaps things aren't as they expected. And the sad thing is, Chris, is that for those people, they often feel very abandoned by the world at large. They feel isolated and just really don't know which way to turn. So we occasionally have families that come in to see us during pregnancy when they've heard that they're carrying a child with a special need, and they come in to talk to other parents and to meet children who may have similar conditions to the baby that they're carrying. And then we have another tranche of people that come into us at about 4 months.
Right.
So typically, those children are people that have got children have got physical or medical difficulties. So they may have had a problem during the gestation where they've been oxygen starved, or there's oxygen starvation that occurs on birth, perhaps giving rise to something like cerebral palsy. They may have Down syndrome that's either not been picked up or the parents decided to proceed through. And quite often they have a pretty traumatic first 4 months of life, because it's in that 4 months where it's really decided whether or not they will survive or not. So quite often they're going to the neonatal unit locally into Queens, and then they'd bounce out to somebody like Homerton or St George's if it's a higher tier of need, and then it could be right up to Great Ormond Street.
So, quick question. One thing I didn't realise you guys did was support parents to just get their head around and speak to other parents like them, so that they can cope better effectively. Talk to me a little bit about, an experience of how that's worked well.
I think I'm sort of looking up to the sky and thinking of the best example to pull together, and it's every case is different.
But
it is said that there's a set of stages of grief that a family that have a child with special needs or disabilities go through, and the order with which they feel things is quite different. But there are huge differences. I'm thinking as I talk with this about a particular family, and they came in. I remember it clearly. They'd been with us in our family sessions. They'd come into as we were running them, our preschool groups. And this is the point when the child is a little over 2, that for the first time they're leaving mum and they're coming into the session by themselves.
Okay.
Which is actually, it's more traumatic for the parent than it is for the child.
Right.
This little lad came into us, and he had what we call social communication difficulties. We expected that he would receive a formal diagnosis of autistic in time, and he came in, the mum was down in the parents' room, and Debbie, who's my early years leader, spends those first few weeks when that's happening running up and down with an iPad and giving them updates on what their children are doing. And so Debbie went down and said to mum, "Oh yeah, he's very happy, he's playing in the sand." Mum said, "No, you got the wrong child."
Right.
And so Debbie said, "Okay, why do you say that?" "Well, he won't play with sand. We've never been able to go to the beach."
Right.
He screams, goes into a meltdown. Now, Debbie knew immediately that she hadn't got the wrong child, and that was because we had 5 white children in on that day and 1 black child.
Okay.
So there was no chance of any mistakes. So she whizzed back
it's
down.
probably quite difficult to get that confused.
She whizzed back down, took a picture on the iPad of this young lad playing in the stand, took it down to mum, and mum just burst into tears.
Yeah.
Because we don't actually understand what potentially the impact is to people. I mean, we have a little bit of personal experience. My wife's eldest son was diagnosed with Asperger's, OCD and ADD. Second year in university doing mechanical engineering.
Gotcha.
And at that point, he for a time was under suicide watch and all sorts of things that flew out from that. He had achieved all the way through school. He got 11 A stars, as they were in those days.
But then part of that is us appreciating and being more sort of understanding that actually difference doesn't mean worse. Difference is actually, can we utilize the skills and adapt our society to support people like that, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and I love the positive slant you take on there. What I would say though is for many of these families, and we're writing a fundraising bid at the moment, and we talk in there about that people arrive at First Step and they're looking for the pill, the therapy, or the surgery that will
That's
cure
going
their
to
child.
fix. Yeah.
And sadly, in many cases, we can't. And I mean, there's not time for me to read it to you now. I'd love to at some point, must give it to you. But there's a great poem that was written called Welcome to Holland. And it talks about a family who have planned to go to Italy.
Right.
And they've done their research, they've got their maps, they're going on the gondolas, all those things. Pisa is they're definitely going there. And they're on the plane and they're just starting, would you please fasten your seatbelts because we're about to land in Holland.
Right.
And they say, Holland? We've not signed up Holland, we're going to Italy. And it talks about the change that they have to go through very rapidly. And I think that's often the situation for parents. That there's no planning for it. And even if you've planned for it, it's still either harder or more difficult than you expected it to be.
Yeah.
And what we've actually used in this fundraising bid that we're writing, we've talked about the first step, is that we're the customer care department in the arrivals lounge.
Yeah.
And what we're doing is starting to pick people up. And the one thing you can't do is you can't say to a parent, it's not as bad as you think it is. It really is.
Yeah, it is hard.
And what we do is First Step starts the process of walking the journey with that family. We don't approach it as being the experts. We have some expertise, but the trouble is, and I mean, you've got a couple of kids, I've got a few more, you know that you might have two children, but if you got a rule book or instruction book with the first one, it wouldn't work on the second one.
Well, first of all, nobody gives you a rule book.
Yeah, that's right.
I think, and then number two, I mean, one of the biggest learns for me during lockdown was that I am definitely the worst homeschooling dad in the world. But certainly, you try your best, you try your hardest, you think you're doing the right thing, but it's. You know, it's one of those jobs that there's no perfect, is there? You know, you just do your best.
There certainly isn't. And we work, our founding principle that came through with our founders, Jill Hare and Margaret Williams, back 30 years ago, was that nobody knows the child better than the parent.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Of another podcast.
And the end is never truly the end, for the end is only the beginning. Have you found the question answer?
I have got the question answer.
Nice.
It's quite a popular one. And we've got a bunch of comments on this one. So clearly it's one that was incredibly popular. Now, do you remember last week we were talking and we were saying that there are some songs that we believe where the original is far better than any cover version ever. I think Prince When Doves Cry is one of those songs. But we had loads and loads of answers. And one of the answers was from Fiona Mupurgo, who said Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin can't be better. And she's buying a bag for life from Tesco's. But Hart did produce a good effort. Sam Chilton said she disagrees with me about Prince When Doves Cry, because there was a version in Romeo and Juliet she thinks was better. Sam, you're wrong. I've listened to that version. It's not good, not as good as the Prince version. Steve Dan said Luther Vandross, Never Too Much. Benjamin Fott said Baha Man, Who Let the Dogs Out.
I heard a rendition of that on TikTok the other day that I quite liked better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was from one of those. Where's the show where they do that thing where they're like, oh, we'll give you a song and a genre to do it in. It was Who Let the Dogs Out, but in Broadway musical style.
What, like, whose line is it anyway?
No, Jimmy.
Hills.
No, I can't remember his
Jimmy
name.
Hills.
I can't remember his name.
Who's Jimmy Hills?
But he gets people on and he does an interview with them and then he gives them like little challenges. And
Oh yes, yeah, Jimmy Fallon.
that's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they did one. It was Who Let the Dogs Out in Broadway musical style, and I can't remember who did it, but I really liked it.
Cool. Sean Atson said, can I answer the other way round? Soft Cell was better. Soft Cell did a better version of Tainted Love. That was better than the original by Gloria Jones. John Cook said there's 3 for him. Simon & Garfunkel, Bridge Over Troubled Water, Beatles, A Day in the Life, and Rolling Stones, Painted Black. Sam Strong said generally anything by the Beatles. Now the problem is the Beatles were such amazing songwriters. There are a lot of Beatles covers, and I've got to say, some of them I like. I like Jose Feliciano's version of a couple of Beatles songs. So yeah, Sam Strong's also said Red Hot Chili Peppers, Under the Bridge. Many have tried. Jay Jarrett said Never Touch Hotel California by the Eagles. Annie Flowers said Bohemian Rhapsody. Mamma Mia, Let Me Go. That was my version. Clearly my version's not going to be
Were you
great.
expecting call and response?
Yeah.
You weren't
Mamma
getting
Mia, Let Me Go.
No.
Beelzebub. Phil Fitzgibbon said Express Yourself by NWA. Lucy Patrick doesn't like any cover version unless it's her on karaoke. Caroline Thompson said Living on a Prayer by Bon Jovi. Hazel Gray said anything by Prince, genius. Nathan Fryle said Black by Pearl Jam. Deborah Meyer said anything by Kate Bush. Glenn May said anything Pink Floyd. Pedro Floyd said glad you didn't say Nothing Compares to You. Mike Christie said Three Lions. And Clive Farrell said Two Little Boys by Rolf Harris, although Rolf Harris is a bit disgraced now, so I don't think I'm going to be listening to that anytime soon. And on that note, why are we ending a podcast about kindness with a comment about Rolf Harris? I don't know. I can't account for what our listeners send in. And on that note, it's the end of another podcast. Would you like to say bye, Sophie?
Bye-bye.
Would you like to say bye, Charlotte?
Bye.
And I'd like to say bye. Have a lovely day, and we'll see you next time on the Kindness Project.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.